Okay, Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 857 amendment provides survivor benefits in the result, and this amendment really is the result of the advocacy of a widow of a South St. Paul police officer, Sergeant Corey Slifko. He died by suicide in 2019, having had a clinical diagnosis of PTSD due to work-related trauma. However, because suicide due to PTSD is not considered death in the line of duty, his family was not able to receive survivor benefits. This bill uses the governor's recommendation for $1 million to expand these benefits. And according to DPS, there are currently 6 people that this expansion would affect and allow their families to receive those benefits. It would be retroactive to January 1st, 2017 to include those families. I would also point out that the amendment does specify that a mental health provider must previously diagnose the officer with PTSD, and the PTSD must result from the officer's work. And as we have talked so much about valuing the people who protect and serve our communities, I believe this is an important and relatively minor thing we can do to support our law enforcement officers and their families.
Thank you, Senator Kent. My thoughts here on this one is how, where does the pension fit in? There's a lot of moving pieces with that and the PTSD that we've been focusing on also. Senator Limmer.
Madam Chair, I have a few questions to ask. This amendment looks somewhat familiar to me, but it looks a little different as well. What would be the benefit to a stricken officer's family?
Senator Kent.
Senator Limmer, I do know that this was a bill from Senator Bigham, and I don't believe it did have a hearing in your committee, but that may be why it looks familiar to you. That this would be, bear with me. My understanding is that this is the similar benefits that are killed in the line of duty.
Yeah. Madam Chair,
Senator Limmer.
as I recall, Senator Duckworth, I believe he had a bill very similar to this prior to Senator Bigham.
Yes.
We considered this during our Judiciary Committee meeting last week. We certainly recognize the dollar amount, but the other element is we didn't know if the question came up what the ongoing costs would be and a tail effect, number one. Hard to predict, number two. If I remember right, the award was to be given to various members of a family, not just one family disbursement. If there's questions about how it interrelates with a pension, I'm not quite sure. I'm unaware of that, but Senator Rosen, you suggest there might be. The other question is does this apply to just state law enforcement personnel, or would it be county and local? And then my question would be are those jurisdictions contributing to this? Do they have their own? Are there insurance policies established by law enforcement agencies already in place as a means of collective bargaining that they're involved? So I haven't studied this area, and I'm just wondering, do we want to go down this path right now versus maybe studying it a little bit more? I think we're all sympathetic to the families, and we're very grateful for the service of our law enforcement that are fallen. I just want to make sure we do it right.
Madam Chair.
Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, we already have provisions for law enforcement who are killed in the line of duty, and this would just simply expand that to include those who contract PTSD in the line of duty and die by suicide. My understanding is that the average death benefit is about $167,000, and as I mentioned, there have been 6 officers who would qualify since 2017, and so it's, it's not a large population that would be added to the existing process. So I would imagine some of the pension conversations would already have been covered in the killed in the line of duty, as well as the state and local interactions. And my understanding is that this wasn't discussed in judiciary, but I don't believe it's been given a full hearing, which is one of the challenges when things don't get hearings, because then, we don't get some of the fuller conversation. I don't know if Mr. Backus has any additional answers to the questions that he would want to share.
And Mr. Backus, could you also, along with that, is there some kind of formula, or how do they determine what family is eligible for this?
Mr. Chair,
This is kind of out of the statute for PTSD is out of our wheelhouse.
Madam Chair, members, this is part of the Section 299A, some specific benefits for peace officers and families of peace officers. So I don't really know how it interacts with pensions and workers' comp. I think it just exists separately. But there's a death benefit for the families of officers who are killed in the line of duty. The statutory provision is $100,000, but there's a cost of living built into it, and I believe now, as Senator Kent said, it's up to like 160-something thousand. In terms of the people who would be eligible under this particular provision, if you look at page 2, there's a definition of public safety officer, and it's a broader definition in general for the benefits, but for this specific benefit for the families of peace officers who have committed suicide, it includes on line 2.17 peace officers, 2.8 correction officers, 2.20 the firefighters, 2.27 those volunteer firefighters, and then 3.7 the first responders, and 3.12 those other individuals. So it's a slightly more narrow version that's applicable for the killed in the line of duty benefits via suicide.
Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would just also point out that in Part C, starting on line 1.29, it specifies that a licensed mental health provider would have previously diagnosed the officer with PTSD, and that their mental health provider determined that the PTSD resulted from their work as a public safety officer.
Thank you, Senator Kent. I do know, like I said, we've been working a little bit in pensions on this issue, and there seems to be just one law firm that works on these PTSD diagnosis, and I think this needs to be vetted a little bit more and teased out, I believe. That's my recommendation. Not that certainly it's not a worthy cause, but there are many other things I think that can play into this arena, and I think we need to get more information on that. So, Senator Limmer, your thoughts?
Well, Madam Chairman.
Chairwoman, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chairwoman. I'm kind of at the mercy of your committee. I understand the need for a little more vetting. I'm kind of like Mr. Backus. I'm not well versed in the interconnection between a pension or any other benefit. Now that we have known that there is a death benefit already in existing law, I would agree with you. We probably need a little more vetting on the issue. It's not to say we're not sympathetic or we wouldn't eventually go there. It's just we need a little more information.
Thank you. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I agree. I think this needs more vetting, and here's the reasons why. I know there's a death benefit for the state. I think, and I'm not sure, but I know from previous experience, but it's been years ago since my partner was killed in the line of duty. There was a matching fund that came from the federal government when he was killed in the line of duty. So I'm not sure what this would do for that. But I know this post-traumatic stress thing is something relatively new, as you well know, Madam Chair. And I think it has to be truly vetted. And I'm not saying, that I don't trust somebody who claims they are or has diagnosed that, because, you know, there's some terrible things out there that officers see. But, you know, it just all of a sudden came about just recently in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think that some of the stuff I think might be a little bit of an overreaction. And I say that cautiously because I certainly feel sympathy for those that would, you know, end up taking their own life. But it just seems like it really needs an awful lot of work. And I'm not sure what you're doing with pensions on this, but I know there's some disability stuff that's going on. And well, we're getting into an area that's going to potentially start costing a lot of money. So I can't, personally, I can't support this, but it certainly needs a lot of work. And I won't be here to do that. But nevertheless, I'm sure whoever is will be dealing with it in the future.
Thank you, Senator Ingebrigtsen. Senator Kent. Oh, Senator Martin.
Madam Chair, Senator Ingebrigtsen, I think in terms of how this interrelates with pensions, it would relate to any other public safety officer who dies, who's killed in the line of duty. This is just simply saying that these folks who died as a suicide related to PTSD from their job are treated as the same as if they were killed in the line of duty, because it's, in effect, killed in the line of duty. So I don't think he's saying that we don't know what the impact of federal benefits or pension benefits are. It's the same as any other officer who's killed in the line of duty. We're just saying, expanding to say that if you had PTSD and it led to suicide, that that's treated the same way as anybody else who's killed in the line of duty.
So can't you just add the suicide and not the $1 million of the cost associated? No, onto the list? Because if the officer dies of a heart attack or stroke, vascular rupture, I do know the work that's been done in pensions, and we had a full hearing last year on PTSD. There is a lot of work on duty disability, but from Senator Howe and others, and the workers' comp issue. There is one lawyer that determines whether they have PTSD or not, and that's a whole nother ballgame right here. And it's a problematic situation. Again, I think this is with a clear conscience. I don't think it'd be good to vote this through. Senator Kent.
Madam Chair, thank you. You know, alternatively, because this hasn't had a full hearing, but it is important. And, you know, I have a letter from Mrs. Slifko. Another option would be to include it, and let's keep working on it and answer those questions. It's still early April, and we do have time to work on these things. And if we can't satisfactorily answer those questions, you know, we can evolve as we need to.
Well, thank you, Senator Kent. I do think the $1 million cost is probably what is prohibitive. I didn't get a clear explanation how that is going to be. Is it just for those 6 members or 6 officers that they would be eligible, that $1 million split? Is it a pool of money? How is it determined how that's going to be allocated? So, as I said, I think this needs a little bit more work. And again, I think this is premature. Further comments? Senator Kent renews her motion on the A57 amendment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
No?
Motion does not prevail.